was the second highest graded defensive player, Pro Football Focus grade, on the team yesterday. You've got Tommy Togiai, who was your 4th-round pick this year. And I would say Tommy Togiai probably hasn't had the start maybe to his preseason career that he was necessarily hoping for, but you just drafted this guy in the 4th round.
4th rounder, right.
You got Sheldon Day, who maybe has been the second-best defensive tackle in camp all year.
Yeah.
Started the Super Bowl for the 49ers, played all 16 games for, Chris Kiffin.
Right.
Has been difficult to block in one-on-ones, has been able to get around the quarterback a lot. Okay, so now we're at 5. And then what we had yesterday was the debut and unleashing. Now, granted, against backups.
Yeah.
But we saw complete domination from Malik McDowell.
Well, that's who he can be. That's who he was. Yeah.
We saw him at the goal line on that 2-point conversion take the center or the guard, whoever was over him, 5 yards into the backfield in the blink of an eye. We saw him get a sack. We saw him generate multiple pressures. We saw him come down the line as a defensive tackle in the run game and make hit after hit after hit. And I thought he was spectacular.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're at 6. And Marvin Wilson is no slouch himself. So,
yeah.
But I think
you're not going to have more than 5 of those guys. Can you have 5?
No.
We'll run out of spots. You're going to need 4 is what you need to be at.
Yes.
Good luck.
So I don't know what you do there. I don't even know what's up for grabs, if anything is even up for grabs there. But that seems to me like a major
So based on,
problem.
and I agree with you. So where you're at, you're basically talking with all the talent we just named. You're talking 1 spot on the defensive end up for grabs, and probably 2 at most at defensive tackle.
But if they are, there might be 0 truly up for grabs because
they may be. Who knows?
Right.
Right. But at the most, a couple.
Yes. Linebacker.
So,
I don't know.
Linebacker's set.
I think it's set. I think you're 6 or you're 6. I think you're going to go with, the Phillips injury now, the fact that Fields hasn't been on the field all year. I think you're going to end up with Walker Jr., J.O.K., Mack, Taki, Malcolm Smith, and Elijah Lee. Now, you could, if you're trying to rob Peter to pay Paul, if Tony Fields ends up here on the practice squad or somebody that you like ends up on the practice squad, that could be a position where you say, look, we're going to be a nickel far more often than not. Do we need 6 linebackers? But then Mike Prefer says, hey, buddy, we need a full special. We need a special teams unit here.
Yeah.
Okay, so
these are my guys.
I don't know that there is a position up for grabs there. I think you're 6 or set. I think with Jacob Phillips healthy, there would have been a very difficult decision that had to be made.
Agree.
All right, so now you go to your corner room. Top 4 are set. This Greedy injury, I don't believe, is serious.
Yep.
So your top 4 are set, and that's Denzel, Newsome, Hill, Greedy.
Yep.
I think A.J. Green, just based on reading, paying attention to the scores and seeing what he does, I feel like he's in as your 5th. And I think M.J. Stewart makes this team. Core special teams guy, can play corner, can play safety. He's a backup nickel for you, does a lot of things. So that could be your 6 corners, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So
maybe 1, but I don't think so. I feel like that's 6.
I feel like you feel pretty good there, right? The other guys left, Brian Allen, Robert Jackson, Emmanuel Ragumba.
I think you're it. I think you're done.
I think you're done there.
I think, folks, you're starting to get to our point. Let's go to safety.
Safety, kind of like defensive tackle right now, honestly. You've got
LeCount's just around the ball.
John, Grant, Ronnie. Sheldrick Redwine has played very well for this organization in 2 years, was a former draft pick, obviously not of this regime, but I can tell you is very well liked in this building. And they believe that there is a great deal of potential there. And then now you got Rich in the mix, who you drafted, who is 2 games, 2 interceptions, and had a very nice accounting of himself. Was definitely better down in Jacksonville. There's no question he was better in that game. He was all over the field. But he's a guy that can absolutely play. And a very likable kid and brings a lot of energy. So, and just if we did
4 safeties,
yeah.
and you're at 20, you're at 24 defense. You're at 26 offense. Then you have the 3 specialists. So there's your number.
So I
don't know that that's.
I don't know that you're going to be that. I think you're going to be lighter on offense than you are on defense, or even. So that does provide room for an extra defensive tackle. Now, you could say, let's go 5 linebackers, and that gives us an extra defensive tackle and an extra safety. We'd have 11 DBs, 9 defensive linemen, with the thinking that, perhaps in a pinch, Malik can kick out, play some on the end for. There's a variety of things that you can do. But, right, there are not a lot of positions truly open. Now, I think the kicking battle is a true battle. That's actually
agreed.
A competition.
Yep. I think that might be the only true – I think that's the only true one
yes.
in terms of, starting. That's it. I think everything else is pretty – linebacker we'll see, but, that's kind of semantics. I think a lot of those guys are going to play.
Could you try to say Johnny Stanton makes the team and now he can be the fullback and the 4th tight end, and
yes,
you can have 2 for 1? But Andy
I love
Janovich
that,
is a
and I
pro's
thought that
pro.
was possible, yes, sir.
He's a pro's
right.
pro.
I thought that was possible based on what I saw yesterday. That was one of the things that jumped to my attention was okay, this is interesting because now this is one guy, 2 spots. And that's the type of creativity. But folks, you see the point. This goes back to the original point. Preseason games when you're a contender are tough because we're talking about bottom of the roster. We're talking about really, really good players, by the way, which tells you how deep we are. But we're talking about five spots.
Yeah.
5 spots, 6. I oversold it, 10 and 20. It's 5 spots, and it's about 10 guys.
Yeah.
That's it.
Like
That's
you
where
could do right now, last 5 in, first 5 out, or last 5 out, however they do, tournament stuff. Like who those 10 people are.
No question. We just did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. That's it. There's lots more to take away from this game. Get you some injury updates as well. See what we can read into the last couple of – obviously, Z got a chance to look at those last practices against the Giants. We'll get some insight on that as well. Those were your OBM topics. Ohio Business Machine, preferred copier provider. Your Cleveland Browns have all the X's and O's for your office. Call 216-485-2000 or visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. In addition to that, the Browns bundle is back at Buffalo Wild Wings for the 2021 season, participating Ohio Buffalo Wild Wings locations during the 2021 season. The purchase of a Browns bundle, fans can get a limited edition collectible Browns glass. The $14.99 Browns bundle includes 6-piece wing, fries, and a glass. The season collection honors the Browns' 75th anniversary with 3 unique designs: the 75th anniversary logo, the throwback brownie, and the 1946 patch logo. Lots still to unpack. You'll hear from our coach. You'll hear from Greg Newsome, who I think is certainly laying claim to being a guy who's going to be there when we roll out that first defense against Kansas City. Lots to get to, a lot of fun to be had along the way. It is good to be back. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. kicking back in the evening in your very own hot tub. Now imagine actually being able to afford one. Northeast Factory Direct buys hot tubs by the truckload. You get a 6-person hot tub with the lounger and the lights, and you can still afford your summer and fall activities. Think owning a hot tub would be a pain? Not at Northeast Factory Direct, because their tubs come with exclusive hardtop covers. You don't have to worry about safety or convenience. Looking for a way to stay active? How about this? They got amazing swim spas. Right now, stop in, take your photo with Flat Alex for a chance to win a $500 gift card that you could put towards your swim spa or hot tub. Just take Northeast Factory Direct on Facebook or Instagram to be entered into the drawing. Check them out in Cleveland, Euclid, and Macedonia, or northeastfactorydirect.com. All right, pal, in terms of yesterday's game, the headliner, I think, is, and this goes back to, kind of the bubble wrap thing, and just sometimes it's bad luck, but Greedy is the one. You feel terrible for Montrell on the Achilles. That was today, but, I mean, he was a guy he just got here Friday, didn't he?
Yeah.
In terms of coming – yeah, so that's just brutal. But Greedy is somebody who you are going to count on and need to count on this team. And the hammy, what can you let us know about Greedy and his situation?
So it's a groin.
Groin, okay.
I don't believe that it is significant. There's still plenty of time to be ready for week 1, and Greedy hasn't missed a day prior to this. He went out with the migraine against the Giants, but that was, unrelated. That was probably had a lot to do with the heat on that day. Yeah, you need all of these guys. That's the thing, ultimately, is that you really do need all of these guys, especially in the secondary. They're all going to get opportunities to play, but I think that we will be healthy there. I know that we got lucky and dodged a bullet. We heard Coach say that Nick Harris is day-to-day, so that's good. You feel awful for Montrell to come back. He was released on Tuesday or Monday last week, back on Friday, plays, and he was flying all over the field, and you hate to see him go down like that, and it was unfortunate. But for the most part, there isn't anything other than Jacob Phillips that is currently affecting anybody who's expected to play in Kansas City that is expected to impact that. The one guy that I think you just need to see out there, and he probably needs to get out there, is Grant.
Yeah.
And you just feel so
bad
for the kid.
Does that have to be in a game, or can that just be in 11s in practice? I mean, I guess it has to start there, right? I mean, you don't say we have to see him in Atlanta necessarily.
No.
We just need to see him in 11s in practice, in team.
No, we've got to see it. We've got to see it there, and, these guys need to it's about putting in the work, obviously, right? And so part of putting in the work is being available to put in that work. And for Grant, I know that he's frustrated by the situation. Mentally, he's there, and that's why when he stepped on the field in the early portion of that week, it didn't look like he had missed time. And so there's a lot of optimism about that he'll be able to get out there and play at a high level quickly, but you still need to be able to get some of those reps and to get some opportunity. Yeah.
It's been a long time since he's played a lot of football. And that's something that you have to acknowledge. I mean, football players need reps. They need to be out there. They got to be running around, and it's something that hasn't been able to happen for him on a regular basis. And so it's a bit of a tough spot. Luckily, Andrew Berry's our general manager, and Paul DePodesta, who, in terms of the architect of this team, and what they have done is they have guarded against that. And so, look, football. This is a business, and no one loves Grant more than we do. But it's nice to see somebody like Richard LeCount emerge and say, okay, not only did we go sign the best free agent in safety and all that you could sign in John Johnson, we were able to get Ronnie last year in a savvy move for nothing, right? And then you get LeCount in the draft, and you go, wow, this is a first-team All-SEC guy. Like, this stage isn't going to blow him away.
Right.
Like, he's fine. He's going to be more than fine in those circumstances. So you kind of you hedge your bet a little bit. With Grant. And the other thing, guys, and this is the big thing for you fans to understand, we want Grant Delpit right.
Yeah.
We can be patient for him. He's a young kid who's going to have a bright, long career as a Cleveland Brown. We can be patient and make sure he's right. There is no reason whatsoever to force him into action until he is ready to go. None. We got a long way with this kid. He's going to be here a long time. Let's do it once right. Let's not have a bunch of stops and starts.
That's exactly right. And I think they thought they had gotten there. They thought that they had taken that time, and it just was so unfortunate to re-aggravate that same hamstring again. But, we've got time, and we have depth. I mean, we could play our nickel D. We could even play a dime, assuming the Greedy's back. and just have Ronnie out there with John Johnson.
Yeah.
And you're going to feel Ronnie Harrison and John Johnson III is an excellent back end.
Yes. Yeah, it sure is. And you feel very good about what's going on at corner, and a big part of that is Greg Newsome, who, boy, he's going to be good. He's going to be really, really good, and certainly earned himself the accolades and deserving of being that number one pick that he was. After the game yesterday, he spoke with one half of the Ibs boys. Let's have a listen to that.
Greg, second
You're down.
How was it different from the first, and how do you feel like you got better in this one?
Yeah, it was definitely different from the first. You know, the first game, always you got the jitters and things like that playing your first NFL game. But today I played a lot more loose out there. You know, I think I learned a lot from that first game, and I think just playing at home was just amazing, just with our fans. So they definitely brought the energy today.
It's tough to see Greedy go out that injury, and have you talked to him since then?
Definitely tough to see him go out. I actually really didn't know until I looked opposite and there was somebody else. I haven't really talked to him much about it, but I know, you know, he'll be back soon, and he'll be ready to go when he gets back.
What have these last 3 days been like for you? You get the big interception on Thursday and then coming out playing on Sunday after your first joint practices. What do you feel like you accomplished?
Man, I think it was a grind, man. Those first few days was a grind. It was great to practice against those guys and, you know, just to have some success.
And just defensively, how do you guys feel like you're coming together right now? It seems like teams aren't really moving the ball very well these first couple games against you guys.
Yeah, I think we're doing a great job. You know, we got a long way to get to where we want to be, and that's the top 5 defense in the NFL. But, you know, I think we're definitely progressing great, and I just can't wait to, you know, continue to just get better with these.
Back in 15.
Longer build up to the season than you're used to in college?
Yeah, man. Right now, you know, we'll still be in training camp. My team actually plays in 2 weeks, so it's definitely longer, a lot more games, but I'll be ready to go.
You're up.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think he will be ready to go. You like everything you've seen, and you've seen more than I have. All I've seen in terms of what I've seen in games and some of the limited practice stuff, he seems to be someone who just it's starting to really come for him across the board.
They love him, and so they wanted to just give him a little test, a little challenge, get him inside in this game against the Giants, which he did some of, but they love him, and so they're very excited, very optimistic about what he can bring to the table. And Greg Newsome, I think it was maybe trending that way anyway, but it wouldn't surprise me if he's an opening day starter. I think that they like him that much and believe that he is that talented.
That's kind of where my head was at just watching from 15,000 feet. Kind of seems like where you're trending. He's special. I just think he's really special, and I think the back end of that defense has a chance to be very, very special as well.
Yeah.
It was so cool. A couple of the shots that they took on the sideline of him and JOK being guys they are building block guys. Like they are franchise building block guys on that side of the ball. Coming in the same class. The idea, I still can't believe we got both of them, but I think both those guys are going to play monster roles this year, right from the jump, honestly.
I do as well, and JOK is such a unique guy in that after that first game when he was getting all the praise and he had the 8 tackles, 3 for loss, covers a guy in the slot man for man, gets a sack, almost blocks a punt, and he said a couple things that were pretty interesting in our production meeting getting ready for the game, which was, I appreciate praise, but I don't hear it. I just focus on my work, and after a game, I never think about what I did right. All I think about is what I did wrong and how I can fix it. And, you know, he said it's more about the thing that he wants to work on the most is his eyes. And he said sometimes when you see too much, you see too little. He has all these great phrases that are very
That's a great one there. Yeah, that is. That's true in a lot of ways, man.
Yeah. So I think he's a guy that is just very, very set on being the best that he can be. He works hard. One of the things we wanted to talk about that we never got a chance because he ended up, not being in the game all that much against the New York Giants was he lifts heavy weights. And so Joe kind of asked him a question that was about, what do you do in the weight room? Because, there's questions about your size and questions about your strength. And he told us, he goes, I like to lift heavy weights. He only played 15 snaps in this one. He said, I like to go find what the offensive linemen or the defensive linemen are doing and then try to keep up. And he said, I typically find that I can. And he goes, because that's the strength and power I have to match.
Wow. Yeah. I can't believe
he's wired in a very
he is, man.
Unique, but very, I think, since he's on our team, a very, very good way.
Yeah, I would. I mean, you know him better than I, but it certainly seems that way. Just everything. You couldn't be more impressed with somebody than the early impressions of Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. I was going to ask you about the Giants because obviously we played a Jaguar team that I think is going to have a really tough time this year. We played a Giants team that I think is going to have a bit of a tough time this year. I think they're probably better than Philly. And then we'll play a Falcons team on Sunday that I think could have – they have a strange roster. You look at the Falcons roster, I'm not sure if it's coming or going. What did you make of the Giants, kind of the way they were put together and the type of team they could be this year?
It's funny. I ended up going on with Anita Marsh. She had me come on in New York.
Oh, yeah.
And Gibby, you're going to like this. I think you'll get a kick of this. So I thought I was going on to talk about the Browns. And she basically was asking me my thoughts on specific Giants players in the joint practices. And I was like, listen, I was doing a show. I said, and they don't even have their names on their jerseys. That's a very Joe Judge thing. So I said, some of the guys that I did know, Jabril and Bradbury and Adoree Jackson and Logan Ryan, I thought looked good. I thought their front, they had a couple guys that can, wreak a lot of havoc up front. But it's all going to come down to Danny Dimes, right? They've got good weapons, but we didn't see Galladay. We didn't see Kadarius Toney. We saw Sterling Shepard, who played very, very well. We saw, we didn't see Saquon Barkley. We did see Evan Ingram, who also looked good. But it's going to come down to how Danny Dimes can extract the most out. And there's so many questions about their offensive line, but you're not seeing quarterbacks get sacked in these joint practices either.
Right.
But they're a team that in that division who isn't flawed. So if Adam Schefter's right, that Dak Prescott's shoulder injury is something that's going to affect him all season long.
Yeah.
Shoulder feels fairly important to throwing a football.
Throwing shoulders especially.
Especially, right? So we saw what happened when he was not on their team last year. I think they're probably the most talented team in the division, but they wouldn't even be my favorite even if Dak were healthy. The Washington football team, because of that defense – you add Curtis Samuel in, and I've got Curtis Samuel, McLaurin, you got Logan Thomas, you get Antonio Gibson, you bring in Fitzmagic, who's got a little juice left and certainly can play some winning football. And that D, as we talked about, is just loaded. It's probably if it's not, it is certainly in the argument to be the best defensive front in all of football.
It's right there.
So I like them. The Eagles, I really don't know what to make of them. The reports on Jalen Hurts are excellent. They do have some talent. Devonta Smith and Jalen Reagor's looked pretty good in the preseason. Good camp, yeah. So they've got some talent. They're older on D, but it's names you know. That division feels wide open. So I'm not going to sit here and say in a division that was won by a team with a losing record a year ago, the Giants have no chance. But you get the feeling that the way that they are pushed and the way that they are coached, that if things are not going well early, like that's a team that it feels like to me has to have a quick start, or else you could see a lot of people.
It could avalanche.
Yeah, I'm not that into this anymore.
I'll see you later.
See you later. Yeah.
Yeah, that certainly does. Yeah, that division with the Dak news. I mean, and it's not like the Cowboys were without flaw anyway. Even if he was healthy, they still have their flaws defensively. And it's right there. And I'm with you on Washington. I think their defense is pretty scary, and they've got some guys on offense as well. So that's an interesting team with Fitzmagic at the helm. All right, coming up next, you'll hear from Coach Stefanski on what he thought of the week with the Giants. We'll hand out some game balls as well. That's coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Brown Saley, Beau Bishop here for my great friends at Raising Cane's. School in session. Raising Cane's is ready to teach your taste buds a lesson. Time to feed your brain with hand-battered, cooked-to-order chicken fingers, crispy crinkle-cut fries, buttery Texas toast, and mouth-watering cane sauce from Raising Cane's. Raising Cane's is here to help all school year long. Visit canesandcommunity.com to learn more about how Cane's can support your school with fundraisers, sponsorships, and more. Check them out. Raising Cane's. One love. All right, buddy, let's go back to this one, and let's hear from Coach Stefanski. We kind of heard your thoughts on what the week with the Giants was like. Here's what Coach had to say on the two practices and the preseason game against the Giants.
Great work with that team. You know, I told you guys the other day I appreciate Coach Judge and then that entire coaching staff, those players. We got some really good work done in Berea for a couple days. And then I thought the guys worked really hard today and competed for 60 minutes. We're put in a bunch of different scenarios in this ballgame, so I thought that was really good for us. And we also realized that we got ways to go. We're just not where we need to be, but that's okay. We got some practice.
You're up.
Do you think does it seem right to you that we're still 3 weeks from a game?
No, it does not. This has been – we need
Long.
the Counting Crows to record a new song. This has been a long August. It's been a long August. I mean, we need to get to this. Yeah, let's go already.
It's a good job for you. He did well for himself, Adam Duras.
Oh,
He did a good job.
quite. I would love a
Great run.
there should be like a 30 for 30 on that.
Yeah.
'Cause
Behind the music.
It doesn't
They still do
match
that?
up.
Remember Behind the Music?
Yeah.
VH1 Behind the Music
Sure.
back in the day?
Sure.
That would be a good one. Counting Crows Behind the Music. Just
Yeah.
follow him around
Yeah.
if they had it, because that was a life lived to its fullest
Good for
on
him.
that front.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, God bless. Coach Stefanski was also asked if he has started to shift from – this is the thing we talked about, and we'll expand on this because I think this is really critical to get in the mind of Coach. Has he shifted from evaluations to Kansas City prep? Let's have a listen.
I think you can do both at the same time, Tony. Even going back to when we first got together. Obviously, we're trying to evaluate the roster. We're trying to get the guys ready in this scheme, get them ready to play. So we're constantly trying to sharpen what we do. So always have the season in mind with everything we're doing.
You're up.
We said this last week, in less eloquently probably, because at least for me, not Ivy League. But that's what you said. That's his job.
Yeah.
His job is it's twofold. It's with the guys who are going to play in Kansas City and the guys that you're going to trot out there those first series to beat the Chiefs. But the bottom half of the roster is equally as important to him. And that's why those preseason games, while they lack the sizzle that they used to have for fans perhaps, they're critical for him because they're determining – I mean, we can kind of poo-poo the idea of 10 guys for 5 spots. Not that we did, but that's critical for him, those 5 spots. So he's doing both constantly.
Because it's not just about those 5 spots. It's then about, with the expanded practice squads, all the people you want to keep in your program. And so it ultimately ends up being about more people. That one note, because I saw this come up on Twitter, that, it'll be easy. We'll just IR all these guys, and they can come back after, everybody can come back after 3 games. If you are placed on injured reserve prior to making the 53-man roster, the initial 53, you are not eligible to return from IR. So Steve Carlson, for example, is not eligible to return this year because he was placed on IR already. The reason Jacob Phillips has not yet been placed on IR is because they are hopeful he will be able to return, which further complicates that initial 53, Beau, because he is going to be on it if they want him to return. So that will be one spot on your 53 for somebody that is not going to be playing immediately that will cause somebody else will have to be released.
Boy, that's an interesting part of it. Yeah. That'll have you change your calc. Boy, that's tough. So this is it's razor thin, man.
We have too many players for the number of spots that we have
players
available to us. And so that begs the question, are we hoping that we can sneak guys through the practice squad? And sneak's not the right word because now everybody watches the tape and everybody's got excellent pro personnel departments and you really can't hide these guys that well. But is that part of the plan? Is guys have an option to sign on any practice squad, so you can make it, try to incentivize them to come back to your practice squad, so you have options there. Because remember, when you cut somebody, another team has to take them onto their 53, and then they have to be there for a couple of games.
Yep.
So you can't just, it's not all willy-nilly. But it's going to be a very interesting cut-down period. And, you wonder, do we try to, finagle some trades from positions of strength where we feel, perhaps that we have 6 guys who could start at guard in the National Football League? Do we try to go to somebody that doesn't have that? But if you're making a trade, what are you trading for? Another player?
You don't like
for picks?
Picks, probably. You don't like doing trades in the division, but Cincinnati could use some help on the offensive line.
Too bad.
Like some of – I know. But some of our guards would be in the mix.
By the way,
there.
Speaking of Cincinnati –
oh, I know.
are you stunned at these reports that are coming out that Auden Tate is ahead of Jamar Chase on the depth chart and that he's been struggling mightily down there?
Did you – well, you didn't see them play Friday then.
I did not.
So this has been going on for a while. I keep my eye on things in Cincinnati from time to time. And this Chase, he had 3 drops. One I won't crush him for, but he had 3 drops, 2 just slants. He just dropped them, hit him right in the hands, just dropped them. And apparently this has been going on for more than a week. And he had him again in Sunday's practice. He dropped a touchdown pass from Joe Burrow that hit him right in the hands. So this has been happening for a while with him down there. Burrow went out and kind of stumped for him last week. At the end of the week, is like, he's going to be fine. Nothing to see here. It's all going to be fine. But since that happened, he had the drops in Friday's preseason game, and he had the drops in Sunday's practice. So this is, from their standpoint, a major development. Now, what's crazy about this has happened. This is the equivalent of the twisties or the yips or, the Chuck Knobloch can't throw it to first base. I mean, that's kind of what this is. This is Markelle Fultz. Is the most apples to apples that I can think of, where you draft a guy where Fultz was drafted and then he forgets how to shoot.
Yeah.
Now we're not there yet with Jamar Chase, but this has been going on for more than a week.
It's pretty wild though, especially when the debate down there was all about do we take him or do we need Penei Sewell because of we need all this help on the line, and then now you have Chase, and all of a sudden it just doesn't sound great with him. And you just laid out exactly why, and you're much closer to it when you're on the airwaves in Columbus, obviously, geographically and in attention, because I am so immersed with our Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
That's not what you want to hear about the guy that was taken 5th in the draft.
No, it's not. And I'm guessing that what you just said has played into it. The Penei Sewell stuff. I mean, they're not great on the offensive line, and which is why I brought up what I brought up at their guard situation. They'd be good trade partners because they're desperate for offensive line play. And so you say to yourself, well, that's all adding to it. I also wonder if, let's remember, he didn't play football last year.
Yeah.
So, catching a football's jugs machine stuff, but he sat out the whole year. So he hasn't played a football game since LSU beat Clemson in the national championship game. That's almost 2 years ago at this point. So more than 18 months. So it's been a long time. So, I think the red flags should definitely be there in Cincinnati. But it's early. There's still a long way out. And I would think the way you'd get out of it is just force-feeding the ball in practice.
Yeah.
That's it. And just keep slinging it to him over and over until he comes out of it. And he's so good that he will. But it's I mean, when I saw it in the game on Friday, it was pretty shocking. Let's hand out some game balls, my friend. It is a Victory Monday edition of the program. Who gets your game ball on offense?
I mean, you got to give it to John Kelly for what he did in this game. And for John Kelly, this is an opportunity to say, hey, I want to stay around probably on the Browns practice squad or make a case, guy who's carried the ball 30 times in the NFL, former 6th-round pick of the Rams, that, look, I can still play in this league. Somebody give me a shot who needs some help at running back. But you got to give him the game ball. He led the team in rushing, ran very, very hard. It was, for him, that's exactly what he needed to do. Yeah, absolutely so. On defense, who do you got? I'm going to give it to Malik McDowell because he was the one guy that I felt, even on the sideline, and I don't know, I wasn't in a pool watching where I would have been probably even more locked in due to my comfort and temperature control.
you got some glare that you got to deal with there.
Yeah.
We at this point, there's not a no glare TV situation. I'm not saying that won't be addressed.
Oh, we know
but
it
for
will
right
be
now,
addressed, certainly.
there were some, there were some glare issues. So it was. I didn't have the crystal picture that you had of being on the sidelines.
But I just felt that he jumped out in terms of his performance. And he was somebody that I was very eager to see. I know the coaches were very eager to see him as well because he might be the most talented guy in our defensive tackle room, period. Just if you say size, speed, strength, athleticism, all of those intangibles, that's who he is. Yeah. And to see him do that was eye-opening. So I'll give him my game ball because he's somebody that now, after that performance, I think inserted himself into the conversation.
And he needed it.
Yeah.
Because it's getting close now for those guys on that front. As we went through earlier in the show, when you talk about who's in, who's out, how many you're going to keep, that's a no-margin situation at defensive tackle. How about special teams?
I love the Hammers punt. He's been working on those directional punts every day here at the Cross Country Mortgage Campus, and he put that one, 54 yards as it bounced right out of bounds at the 8, which actually led to a 3-and-out, led to a short field, and led to our second touchdown of the game. That was a great three-phase, field position switch, and then the defense doing its job and the offense doing its job. But I thought Chase McLaughlin's kick from 49 yards out into the dog pound at First Energy Stadium that would have been good from 60 was pretty impressive. And the ball comes off of his foot very, very well. Cody suffered a little bit of an injury yesterday. We heard about after from head coach Kevin Stefanski, a little bit of a groin injury. So if there's any question there, it's nice to know that neither one of these guys have missed a kick in a game yet. So you're dealing with strength. Cody got it done for you, 11 for 11 in the playoffs last year. Reliable. But Chase McLaughlin, I think with just the way the ball comes off of his foot and that kick, which we know how difficult it is to kick into that end of the stadium, regardless of what the weather's like on any given day, and for it to go through from 49 as high up as it did was impressive to see. Yeah.
It certainly was. It absolutely was. We'll go around the league. Coming up next, give you some winners from the offensive side of the ball as well. Final hour of the program up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Second hour of the program. Beau Bishop here for my friends at EOX Vantage. And EOX Vantage connects core systems that don't talk. From reporting and analytics to insight and decision making, get a more complete real-time picture of your business. You can eliminate Excel nightmares from business processes, visualize all that important data in one place. You can gain real-time insight to make data-driven decisions on performance through role-based visualization dashboards. With EOX Vantage, you can benefit lower overall costs, better alignment between technology and business needs, scalability, ease of deployment, and management. EOX Vantage makes your data work smarter to move your business forward. You're about growth. Your software should be too. And with EOX Vantage, your company is going to scale effortlessly. Local presence but global footprint, trusted by some of the world's biggest brands, and a 2021 Cleveland Plain Dealer Top Workplace winner. Check them out, www.eoxvantage.com. Fantastic news on the Nick Chubb front. You pointed this out to us in the break, Gibby, from Darren Ravel. I know you've favorited it as well, Z. Give the people the data on Mr. Chubb.
So he's already sold 24,000 boxes of Chubb Crunch, which is just an incredible accomplishment. In fact, it is so incredible that it is the most that has ever been sold in the history of sports food product maker PLB Sports. It is the fastest-selling cereal in their history. Just 6 days on sale, 24,000 boxes. And when you get the box and you look at it and you read how it benefits, SIDS.
Yep.
So he's doing good. It's an awesome logo. Great taste. Cinnamon Toast Crunch was his favorite, so it tastes like a Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and you're supporting a tremendous cause. And he is he's crushing it. So Nick Chubb, great on the field, great on a cereal box.
Did you there was, I think, one of the more difficult things for you and I to do on this show before that extension was done was talk about that extension, because for fear that something would happen, because you just don't know. You know how running backs are valued around the league in analytics departments. You knew that Chubb transcended that in terms of his importance.
Yep.
But you were so hoping. It was one of those ones where you were so hoping that there would find a way for him to be here in the long term, because not only of what he means to this team, but he's kind of the epitome of a Cleveland Brown and everything you want it to be. And by getting that deal done, he's got a chance to be one of the most popular Cleveland Browns of this generation. And that's saying something with the star power we have. But if you go to Fanatics, for example, right now, and of course we encourage you to go down to the stadium and buy your jerseys there, but if you do buy one at Fanatics, you will see that the most popular Browns jersey is a 24. That's the one.
By a wide margin. That is it. And he embodies this organization. He embodies everything that they want to be. Talk about smart, tough, and accountable, all of those things. That is Nick Chubb. That is who he is, and that's exactly why he was given the deal that he was given, and that they are so pleased that Nick Chubb is going to be a Cleveland Brown for so long.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's absolutely awesome. I saw the NFL 100 stuff as well, and he's still not quite getting the respect that he deserves on that, but nevertheless, it is growing. And I did. Hey, have you downloaded it yet?
I have not, but did you get into it? I've heard that it's great.
It is. So this is the first time that I've gotten Madden in back-to-back years in probably 15 years, and it's just because of the boys. Because I didn't play for a long time, but now they're into the video games, which means that I can be into them again. And so, it is. I don't know that the gameplay
is any different.
Is demonstratively different than what it was last year.
Mm-hmm.
The gameplay seems really similar to me, but I'm not a savant like you in terms of would be able to pick up on the nuance.
I'm not anymore. I'm not at all anymore.
I had the game last year, was the first one that I got in probably 12 years.
Okay.
And I thought, wow, this is sensational. Like, this is crazy good. On the, what do I have? I have the Series X Xbox.
Yeah.
Is that what I have? Okay. So on that, I was like, this is extraordinary. But then this generation of it wasn't that much noticeably different from last in that front. We're very good. We're very good on the game. I think we're tied for fourth. I think it's the Bucks, the Chiefs, Ravens, and then us and the Bills are tied for fourth.
That's what's got to be fun about it. And the 75th anniversary uniforms are in the game.
Yes.
Which look awesome. Yeah, I've got it.
You know what I do?
That's on my to-do list.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. So we played it. Obviously, we're loaded. It's cool to play with the Browns. You don't have to enhance anybody.
No.
Like we're already
You're just legit.
Made. Like it's just legit right out of the gates, and you're like almost one of those teams that it's unfair if you play with them.
I love
because
that.
of how good we are at running the football. We're so good running the football. But it's good. Huge glitch. I'm playing Beamsy yesterday, and I was so mad. He was mocking me because I threw an interception. All right. Safety, they're in 2-over coverage. Safety, Odell's to the left. Safety comes in and kind of comes down and kind of fills a slot where the linebacker who blitzed kind of comes down in the zone.
Okay.
So now all of a sudden I have Odell single on the outside. The cornerback's playing outside leverage, okay?
Okay.
Not only is the corner playing outside leverage, I have Odell running a post. So I have the perfect play call for what's happened here.
Boy.
The cornerback turns his back to Baker, all right? I throw it before Odell even cuts because it's a touchdown. It's over. Forget it. Miraculously, the corner pirouettes, comes back around, gets in front of Odell for the interception. To which point Beamsy starts mocking me that I suck and he's so great, blah, blah, blah. I go, well, let's take a look at this, son. Let's go to the instant replay. So I became that guy. Let's take a look at what happened here to Uncle Beau. Can we take a look at that? I said, how would you explain what happened here? I said, you play quarterback on our second grade team. How would you read this, buddy? And then the point was proven.
Oh, that's so fun. That's the best is when – and computer injustices are just a part of these games. It just –
you have to accept it.
You have to accept it. However –
so hard.
It's impossible to accept, and it will always feel as though the negative computer injustices only happen to you. Mm-hmm. And the positive computer injustices are just like, that's just the game.
That's the game.
Right. Which is one of the great, that's what I love. That's one of my favorite parts about Madden is that you get that aspect of it that, well, yeah, that's the computer's fault. Oh, you got so lucky. The computer just basically gave that to you. I mean.
Right. Hope you enjoyed that giveaway.
Yeah. You didn't
Dad
really
read the defense perfectly, Beamsy.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, we actually have a big preseason game tonight as we go around the league. A couple of things we want to get to here. Big preseason game tonight for the quarterback situation in New Orleans. Folks in New Orleans think that this team is a contender. They do. I've talked. It blew my mind, but that's a feeling down there is that it's them and the Bucs. I think
this
it's
the
the
beat
Bucs.
writer who is invested? Is this what you're saying? This is who's going to check that box?
Well, we were talking off the air. I think that the Saints are sneakily one of the most invested beats in terms of the people who cover the team, invested in the team in the league.
Yep.
There's a few like this. I would say we're like this. And this isn't a negative or a positive. It's just there's a tremendous amount of belief in Sean Payton, in the organization. And so they feel
pretty
like
well
they were a
at
contender.
this point.
Yeah, for sure. But I would also say that they're one of the biggest you blew it boys that we've had in the league the last decade because they've had home field advantage. They've had Drew Brees. They've had Kamara, they had Ingram, they had Thomas, they had Lattimore. They've got dudes, and they couldn't get it done at home. So there's a little bit of that to them, too. It's kind of a mix.
You're right. They do have some talent, and I would say that for the you blew it boys, yes, there have been some, but the officials certainly handed them a big, fat plate of you blew it.
Twice with the Vikes, though.
Unjustly. Twice with the Vikes, but that one in the Rams.
The Rams was bad.
They could have gone to the Super Bowl that year.
Yeah.
Pretty easily.
That's it. Yeah. And you wonder, like, if the Colts recover that onside kick, think how differently you view them and Manning.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
You know? I mean, it was a gutsy
Basket.
call, but he got it.
Hank Basket.
Yeah. I can't think of any situation where it's not Jameis Winston because I continue to think that.
For sure. No way, of course. When he asked that question, like, Gibbe, do you even have to ask who we think should start? Of course it's Jameis.
But, like, if you continue to value an ability to throw the ball down the field at some point in the National Football League, doesn't it have to be? Because you have to have the guy who can throw.
Right.
versus the guy who can't.
I don't understand how this can be debated.
It's crazy.
Like, how is this
Stubbornness
still an
from Sean
argument
Payton.
going into preseason game number 2?
I think Peyton's just stubborn. I think he's just stubborn with Taysom Hill,
It's
and he
the
likes
same
some of the
thing
gadget stuff.
A little issue going on in Chicago.
Oh, yeah, we will. I feel like it's got to be Jameis, and he gives him the best chance. And honestly,
Yes.
the ceiling, it's clearly the one. This one from Vic Taffer of The Athletic. I had to double read this morning. All right, guys. So the Raiders explored trading back for Khalil Mack.
Yeah, that's right. They're like John Cusack. I've seen a couple gifs go around where he has the thing. As I was trying to read some of the background, where he's got the boom box. Listen,
Right.
what are we
Say
doing?
anything.
What are we doing?
What are we
as
doing,
if we
John?
As if we didn't know that some of the things that were happening there were a little bit of a debacle.
Yeah.
This is not.
It's next level.
It's not surprising, but you can't. You have to just say, let's go call about the next pass rusher that we like, or the one that we like even maybe more than Khalil Mack. Let's
Yes.
go call about Von Miller.
Yep.
Let's go call about anybody not. We can't do that.
No.
We just can't walk this back.
Nope. No.
This is not like the great scene in There's Something About Mary where they say you did the hard part, lay in the tracks, now you just got to back it up. No.
Right. No.
There is no backing it up.
No. You can't. Gibby mentioned this with the Bears quarterback situation in Justin Fields. So he did play well again. Dalton struggled again. But Justin Fields almost got his head taken off. Did you guys see the video of this?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't really even blame him. So he looks over, they're in man. If you look at the guy who comes on the blitz, they are in man, and he is at this point deciding, because they don't have anyone assigned to the running back, he's saying, I'm aborting the blitz because someone's got to take this running back over here because we're in man. At the last second, a middle linebacker comes down. So as Justin Fields takes his eye off that side of the field, a middle linebacker comes down, scoops up the running back, which allows the guy to come free. So it happens like that.
Bang. Yeah.
So it had nothing to do with Fields being a rookie or anything like that, or not recognizing. It was just, frankly, incredible timing and almost brilliant out of Buffalo that they were able to pull it off. And it might have even been a brilliant mistake. They could have been kind of stumbled into it, is kind of what happened. So what I was going to bring up to you guys on this, and I think you guys do a great job of this on the Brown side of things, both TV and radio, both crews. But some of the most ridiculous things that you hear from home field broadcast teams. So Jim Miller's on the call for this game, right? So this is the Bears production.
That's right.
Okay. And Jim Miller says that's why you can't play Justin Fields because he's not ready for those moments. Because obviously that's what the organization wants to play Andy Dalton. Okay. That's why we can't play him, because he's not seeing these things. So that's what Jim Miller says on the broadcast, which is wild thing to say, without also explaining everything I just explained. That you could have been a veteran and you wouldn't have seen what happened here, because it was such a odd thing that happened, right? Fields actually read it right. It's just last second switch allowed for it. So he said that, and this was coming off the heels of Spencer Tillman. Did you hear his comments?
No.
So Spencer Tillman does the color analyst for the Texans games. And he says on their broadcast this week that no GM in the league in the last 10 years has done a better job than Nick Caserio has done this year in Houston in the last 10 years.
What?
Look, you work for teams, I get it. You're going
I
to
do
paint
work
things
for a
in
team.
You do work for teams. I get it. You want to paint things in the most positive light, but it has to have some merit. Like, it can't just be nonsense. And that's what you got out of Spencer Tillman and Jim Miller this weekend.
What you say is just, and look, we had to do it. I had to do it more specifically when Baker was here with Terod. This is the organizational decision.
I remember
but
you saying that.
You don't need to say this is why he can't play. We never at one point couched it in Baker isn't ready to play. We were getting pumped up about Baker and what he was showing, especially you go down and remember that Detroit preseason game, and you said, oh, man, this looks fantastic. Oh, boy. Yeah. Justin Fields has played, I think, well in the preseason, and that because he got his head taken off right there, the fact that he got up and he did, that's even, in my mind, that's even more reason why he can play.
Right. I would agree. And honestly, if you're Matt Nagy, you shouldn't have played Dalton at all in the preseason because you put him – and Fields actually in the postgame was like, look, don't boo Andy, like just because, this is what we want. He's a teammate. We want him to succeed too and all of this. Justin has to say this in the postgame because they were booing Andy Dalton every time he took a snap. Like if you're Nagy and you really want to play Dalton, you don't need to see him in the preseason go 3 and out. Just play him in the opener. Let Justin Fields shine in the preseason. Let him get all the snaps in the preseason.
Totally.
And then let Dalton play the opener. There's no reason.
He's the starter. That's it. Agreed.
Yeah, that's it.
So I watched what happened. I watched the play since you brought it up, and I wanted to see it. I mean, I'd seen the clip of just the hit. I didn't see somebody's posted like an all 22. So the only thing that I would say that he would want to learn from again is if in the scenario that it was, there's nobody over there on the running back, that guy's got to take the running back, you've got to look, that's what you have to look at, because if he comes, you immediately get it out there, and if he doesn't come and goes with the running back, then you've got a little bit more time. But that's got to be his first read, because if he wasn't covering the running back, to your point, it has to be 42, and the running back, if he blitzes, just get it to the running back immediately who's out there, and he never looks that direction, which is why he ends up taking a pretty good lick right there.
After the initial read in the
pre-snap, I see pre-snap. He's looking at it, but he's got to know the math there. That's either the blitz and peel or that guy's coming, and that's all he has to read on that play because they don't have enough guys to handle what they're showing. Although I don't understand when I watched it back. Yeah, because that guy comes inside. So the left tackle, they're all occupied. They get everybody occupied. Yeah, you have the 4 down linemen, you have 5 there, and they think that perhaps the middle guy, they're double teaming. He's just got to look at that quickly. But you know what? That to me says, yes, he can play because he took the hit and he's going to watch this tape and he's not going to – that's not going to happen.
Won't do it again. Yeah.
This is the perfect time for that to happen. That's why this is the preseason, and you go through it. But it's about how you couch these things, right? And I think that's the point you're making. Justin Fields – I know a lot of people that are big Bears fans. They're thrilled about Justin Fields. And it's not even any disrespect to Andy Dalton. And the fact that Fields has to come out and say, hey, stop being so mean to Andy Dalton, it's not even really about Andy Dalton. It's what are we trying to accomplish this year? Now, this is a team that went to the playoffs a year ago. And I think that's part of if they had missed the playoffs a year ago, I think that it's much easier for them to say that. But there's still some mentalities in this league that are just different. And we saw that here at the joint practices. And Nagy, correct me if I'm wrong, when did Nagy leave to come to Chicago?
He left, was it after Mahomes's, this is his 3rd year in Chicago, or 4th. They drafted Trubisky. How far is Miles in Trubisky?
Yeah, so.
Did he draft Trubisky, or did he come after Trubisky was a rookie?
What I'm trying to see is, was he there at all when
Who,
Mahomes
by the way, Mitch
sat?
was good. Go ahead, Gibby. Do you have it?
Looking right now.
No. Okay.
Because if he was there when Mahomes sat, he could say,
he
look.
was there when Mahomes sat, but I don't know if he was there when
Mahomes.
Mahomes then played as a rookie.
Head coach since 2018.
And Mahomes was drafted in Miles' year, which 17, 18. Now, Mahomes was drafted in
17.
No, he's Miles.
17.
Yeah. Sat. He's there with Deshaun and Trubisky and Miles. So he would have been there for the Mahomes sit year.
So that colors, I would guess, his opinion on these matters.
All my point of just playing Dalton. Why play him in the preseason?
Yeah, just say he's the starter.
What's the point?
This is
he's a starter.
Yep.
Let Fields play all the time.
Yep.
And that's fine. You don't believe in it. You got to stay with it, though. All right, coming up next, we'll get to 5 guys to cut that are going to have to get on the cut line, and we'll pay attention to that certainly by Tuesday at 4 o'clock. So that is tomorrow. We get 4 practices this week. Plus, I want to get you an update on a crazy situation with Cam Newton in New England. We get to that as well. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, welcome back into Cleveland Browns Daily. Beau Bishop here for my friends at Weather Seal Home Services. Is your new home in need of a facelift? Well, new siding from Weather Seal can give your new home look with your old home without the hassle of moving at all. It's really extraordinary. Weather Seal insulated foam siding will increase the value of your home, improve your curb appeal, save money on your energy bills. That's a big one. Winter is coming. Plus, save more with Weather Seal's 7-year, 0-interest financing. You got to give my guys a call today for a free design consultation. Get that brand new home look before the end of the year. Give them a call at 877-351-SEAL or visit WeatherSealHomeservices.com. 7 years, 0 interest on that financing. WeatherSealHomeservices.com. Want to get to this Cam Newton story, and then we'll get into some of the cut downs and stuff. So there was a lot of confusion about this. So this morning it was Cam Newton is not out here. He's not out here in New England. And there was wait, what happened? So then the Patriots have to release a statement on it, and then you get the reporting from Pelissero and Breer, among others. So Cam Newton, at the behest of New England, left New England to receive some sort of medical treatment. Now he continued to test negative for COVID during this time. But there was a confusion on the validity of those tests in the eyes of the NFL. So despite the fact that the Patriots asked him to go do this in conjunction, that Cam and the Patriots agreed to go do this and that this would be the testing, obviously you can draw the pretty quick conclusion that he's not vaccinated because any other,
you wouldn't have
non-vaccinated
to have done daily
players,
testing, right?
Right, so that's why he's doing the daily testing. But those tests were not ones that fell in line with the NFL, NFLPA agreed upon testing, and so he's going to have to sit out 5 games. So basically the Patriots asked him to do this, and now he's going to get hit out 5 games with it, all the while competing for a job with Mac Jones, who's looked really good. And now Cam's going to be out 5 days. So that's the tricky spot that's happening in New England.
So I've read, since we talked about this earlier, I was reading about it during the show, during the commercials, and trying to look at it. This doesn't make very much sense to me at all. And in fact, you made a good point earlier. The NFLPA, I imagine, would be he was sent away, still was getting tested daily, and now he's right. This could cost him significantly in terms of his ability to maintain that starting job. Now, I think the Patriots would have to be the ones who say this is not going to impact that, but these are days of work that are very important, obviously, for Cam Newton competing with Mac Jones. Mac's going to get all these reps. This feels very unfortunate. It feels kind of easily rectifiable that, hey, he's gotten those tests. He's tested negative again today here at the facility.
Yes.
Let's just go ahead and go with this.
Yeah.
Now the other part of
it's a technicality where he's getting pinched pretty good, but let's remember, going back to last spring when this stuff was first announced, look, this was laid out about how much easier it was going to be for vaxxed versus unvaxxed.
And it's part of it, and that's a – now the other thing is if you are the Patriots and you are dealing – you've got this situation that Cam that's popped up. Cam also now possesses the ability to be a close contact and thus miss 10 days should he be deemed a high-risk close contact to somebody who ultimately does end up testing positive, whereas somebody who is vaccinated can't be. So let's say they have 3 quarterbacks there. The quarterback not named Mac Jones, and I think Hoyer's still there. So
Hoyer's still there.
So say Hoyer gets if Hoyer's vaccinated, gets a breakthrough case in the quarterback room. He's been around Cam. He's been around Mac Jones. Cam would be out 10 days, and Mac Jones would not. Mac Jones would be able to play. So from a professional standpoint, in terms of his availability, it probably makes sense from that. This wouldn't even have been an issue. What just happened here? But wow.
Yeah.
I still think he's being done wrong. Let me make that perfectly clear.
I agree. I think he's being done wrong, too. I mean, he took tests the whole time. He tested negative today. It seems a little obtuse in the thinking that you couldn't just say, hey, let's apply some common sense here and,
And like how many of them, was it just one day that his test was not in the facility? Was he just gone for a day?
I'm not sure if it was a day or a couple of days. I'm not sure
but
of that.
He's tested at the facility every day before that, and he's tested probably every day since he's been back.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's tricky. It's a really tricky spot for him. All right. Back to this team that we are dealing with here, of course, which is your beloved Cleveland Browns. We need to cut down to 5 guys before tomorrow at 4 o'clock. There's 4 practices this week, then the final preseason game, and then the cut downs that will come after that. We kind of outlined just the roster lack of questions early in the show. How do you view this cut down tomorrow at 4 o'clock? Is that one that is that a pretty straightforward one? Do you anticipate – I don't anticipate any real surprises there. What do you sense tomorrow by 4 o'clock?
So take Montrell. That sounds like a significant injury.
Yeah.
IR or waived IR, waived injured, one of those two. So that's probably one spot. Alex Taylor is the guy that is left that game with an injury. So he's a candidate to be, to have one of those. So that's 2 spots, likely, just because you have to make these decisions. And if you waive a guy injured for example, like an Alex Taylor, who's a young player that's still in that contract window. Same with Montrell. If they clear waivers, they revert back to you and onto your injured reserve, just like Keandre Thomas did. And so that's an easy way to make one of those spots without having to cut somebody. You cut somebody who's just not available to you at this time, and if they clear waivers around the league, then you get them right back. So I think that's 2 of the 5. Beyond that, I'm not speculating on any individuals whatsoever,
No.
but that'll probably be 2 of them. And if guys are banged up that aren't going to be able to contribute at this time, we have a couple receivers like Alex Hollins hasn't been able to participate in a while. Jamarcus Bradley hasn't been able to participate in a while. And you think of the way that, Davion Davis has played. I mean, that guy just is making plays.
Jeez.
And he's doing it in games. He's doing it out here. He's doing it in the joint
practices. That
practices.
comeback was incrable when he came back on the ball.
Yeah, because he had beaten the
really
guy.
impressive.
His first move was
He beat
great. And then he had to come back, go through him, high
Beat him
point it.
twice.
Incredible catch. So
he's an attention getter.
that would be my guess. So, you could have I think you'll start with guys who are injured, and then you'll look for if there's anywhere that we've got, significant depth strength where it's just not going to work out for somebody, then, that's where you'd look.
In terms of how, if you're Kevin Stefanski, and again, you're doing the 2 things, right? You got a large group of this team that you're trying to continue to make steps towards Kansas City. Then you've got a part of the roster that you got to say, okay, we've got, what do we decide on, 5 or 6 spots, and anywhere between 8 and 12, 8 and 13 players for those 5 or 6 spots. So you've kind of got, again, that same thing happens. The 2 parallel lines that he's working under, and you're paying equal attention to both, but does it start to shift more to that first group now as we are getting closer? And, hey, we got to start fine-tuning that first group versus maybe a little less attention to those final spots at the end.
I think it's possible. I know it's the 3rd preseason game, and in the past that's when you would see some action. It's also the last preseason game, which in the past you would see no action.
Right. It's tricky.
If Kevin Stefanski thinks that there is a benefit that is attainable for his starters in this game to give them, all right, the feeling of coming out, the feeling of taking an opening drive, and that is commensurate with the risk of doing so, then he's going to do it. And he would be right to do so. If he does not feel that way, I don't think he will do it. And I think it's about getting ready for the long haul, as you pointed out, and mitigating against anything that could significantly derail, the chances here. Look, Paul DePodesta said something great yesterday. That
he's good every time he's on a mic, by the way.
Every time. Just totally in command.
Yep.
Totally in command.
Every time he's on a mic.
We all know what we look like on paper. We all know the quality of the coaching staff that we have here. But we start 0-0 like everybody else. And we don't. He said, we won 12 games last year. We start with 0. Last year doesn't matter. And now there's intangible ways, of course, that it does matter. The confidence that comes from going into Pittsburgh and beating them, in a playoff game. But this team still needs to put in its work. This team still needs to be fortunate with injuries. It needs to get a few bounces. And in some of those games that are one-score games, that come down to a couple of plays here or there that are made or not made, you need to be on the right side of those things. And so it's if there is something in this game that Kevin Stefanski and this organization feels will help those things happen for over 17 weeks, maybe you give them a quick look-ski. If they don't, it wouldn't surprise me if we don't see him, because you got a lot of real good work in the joint practices. A lot.
This
and
is
it was
uncharted.
situations.
It's uncharted for all of us, guys, and it's being done different ways across the league.
Yeah.
We're playing 3 preseason games instead of 4 for the first time ever. We're playing 17 regular season games for the first time ever. So there's different approaches. We've seen, obviously, we've been very, and I think rightfully so, cautious with our key players, our starters, in terms of not getting our veterans, taking care of them, put them in the best chance. Guys, we still have 3 weeks of practice before we play a game. I know that seems crazy because it feels like we've been in camp forever, but we still have 3 weeks of practice before we play a game. Conversely, you saw in the first preseason game, Tom Brady played 2 series. You saw Ben Roethlisberger, and they're giving Najee Harris the ball. They've already played 3 full preseason games. Pittsburgh has. They're still giving Najee Harris the ball. It's like, what? Boy, didn't you see enough at him at Bama? I don't know why I wouldn't have him keep doing it, But I wouldn't if it was mine. I wouldn't do that. I would hold him back. So doesn't mean that one's right and one's wrong. It's just I think we're at a real feeling out point in the league in terms of how to handle 3 preseason games and a 17-game schedule. And no one's really sure how to do it yet. There's not a blueprint.
No, there isn't. And I think that people are going through kind of the analysis that I laid out. Do we get a reward potentially that is commensurate with the risk of the exposure to injury for stars in a game that has no bearing from a record standpoint on what this season ultimately becomes? And I think that's the hardest part. You know, at one level, do you want guys playing football for the first time when it matters? You know, do you want a quarterback to feel a hit, assuming he comes out of it healthy? Do you want Nick Chubb to feel what it's like to get hit?
I think he knows. My hunch is he knows.
Look, I always would err on the side of caution with these things. Always. Yep. Football's too. It's why it's a game that does not lend itself to exhibitions.
No.
It's why the Pro
Think
Bowl.
Of that. It's a great point out of you.
It's why the Pro Bowl is not what you can see in the fourth quarter of an NBA All-Star game when they actually say, okay, we're going to play a little D and somebody's going to try to win this game.
Yeah.
Because football it's too violent of a sport.
You can't half-ass physicality.
Correct.
So that's the issue. That's why preseason football is very tricky for your – like you say, okay, let's put our ones out there and try and just go down and score. That can be great, and there's ways that you can call plays to keep people protected, you know, to a certain extent.
To a certain degree.
But only so much.
Right.
Only so much. So that's the real tricky part there. James Hudson, certainly somebody that we paid a lot of attention to in the draft process, in the rookie minicamp process, and now in the preseason process. You will hear from him. We'll take a look at who helped themselves on the offensive side of the ball. It's coming up next. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Injuries during childbirth require experienced counsel. Call the lawyers at Elk & Elk for a clear answer as to what happened during your child's birth. Elk & Elk, a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. Call 1-800-ELK, Ohio today. James Hudson, certainly someone who has gotten almost offensive tackle fantasy camp. When you think about Bill Callahan and the access to Joe Thomas, and is off to a nice start to his young career. This is from the University Hospitals Radio Network postgame show. Here is James Hudson with half of the Ibs boys, Mr. Gribbs.
All right, James, you've been really
You're down about a minute 40.
the left tackle and right tackle. What's the experience been like, and how much better are you getting because of this?
It's been a great experience. I feel like I'm getting a lot better out there. Definitely feel like I had a better week than last week. Still got to clean up some things, as far as technique, pre-snap penalty, of course. But, I'm going to just keep going to practice every day, keep working, keep listening to Coach Peters and Coach Callahan, and just keep getting as good as I can.
And what was better about this week than last week?
Particularly my pass protection. I feel like my sets were looked better than last week. Feel like I did a better job in the run game. Just feel like I just did better overall. Last week was, my first game. Feel like I struggled a little bit, but I feel like this week, I settled down a little bit. Things starting to slow down for me, and just keep working.
And you're a guy that was relatively new to the tackle position coming out of college, but now you're taking on both left tackle and right tackle. What's that adjustment been like in getting used to that side?
It's definitely been a tough adjustment for me. With me having very limited playing time.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm picking it up. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm a football player. I'm gonna go out there and give it my all every single play. So, just like I said, I'm gonna just keep working.
And how valuable is it to know both sides and play them well with your role coming up on this team this year?
It's very important. Being able to play both sides is very important. I mean, not even just for the team.
Back in 15.
Period. The more positions that you can play, the better. I'm gonna just keep learning both positions, keep grooving myself, and the rest is going to take care of itself.
Thank you, James. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're up.
All right, good stuff from James. And it was interesting you guys mentioned this on the broadcast yesterday, the false start when Coach Callahan not happy with those. But that's something that a young guy's going to make, and you make those and you learn from them.
You do, and for James Hudson, that's 2 games in a row with those. You got to clean those things up, but he was asked to play quite a bit in this game. He did, especially once Alex Taylor went down with the injury after, Hudson at that point probably would have been able to get some time on the sideline. I honestly thought he had played a little bit better down in Jacksonville. Now, he may have felt a little bit more comfortable, but in this one, Pro Football Focus, he gave up 6 pressures on 39 pass blocking snaps. Last week, I think it was 2 pressures on about 25. So from a pressure standpoint, it was not as good. And I was doing one of the sideline hits, I think, talking about him perhaps at the time, and the story with the Hoff, calling him up on draft day. And that's when they took the shot down the left sideline to Felton. Felton was 5 yards clear of the people trying to cover him, but because Hudson unfortunately got beat on that play, which I couldn't see from the sideline at the time, but that throw was rushed and thus it missed. So there are little things that he has to clean up. I thought, you can see the natural ability, but let's not forget, this is someone who is very, very new to playing offensive line. I mean, yes, he started 1 year. It was all ACC, didn't allow a single sack in the ACC. He did a good job run blocking this week, but, there are going to be hiccups, and that's why for a guy like this, the preseason is so valuable because he's getting great work against other teams' players. And let's be honest, we hope that James Hudson plays exactly 0 snaps for the Cleveland Browns this year, unless maybe they want to get him in, the Kendall Lamb role as the extra tackle to go catch a touchdown against the Tennessee Titans. You hope he doesn't play at all, but the good news is you have he and Hub there at the tackle spots, and Chris Hubbard has come back and looked very, very good from that injury he suffered against the Giants a year ago. So I know it meant a lot to him to be back on the field against that team where he suffered that injury. But Hudson, great feet, eager to learn. That's what Joe said. Yeah. Like a sponge, and now it's just going to be about getting the reps to where he's not thinking as much and he's just playing.
Z, a couple minutes here. Who helped the most offensively on Sunday?
So, guys, I'd say 3 guys jump to my mind that helped themselves the most this Sunday. Number 1, John Kelly, and again, not for our active roster most likely, but perhaps for our practice squad or somebody else's active roster. Johnny Stanton going and playing tight end and making those 2 catches and making them look pretty easy, to be honest. and even some run after the catch. What do you have? 2 catches for 33 yards, I think, is what it ultimately settled at. That was very impressive to me. And so if Johnny Stanton, because we know he can play some running back for you, if Johnny Stanton can play some running back for you, if Johnny Stanton can play some fullback for you, if Johnny Stanton can play some tight end for you, 2 catches, 33 yards, 19 and 14 as a tight end.
Yeah,
I think he helped his cause in terms of, trying to be here. And then Davion Davis has just led us in receiving, 2 games in a row in the preseason. And so if you can do that, that catches people's attention. He's done everything that they've asked of him. Chad O'Shea, I know, couldn't be more thrilled with him and the confidence that he got after that first game and was able to carry that forward, I thought was pretty impressive. 3 catches, 45 yards. He had 4 for 56 in the first one. He made plays here at the Cross Country Mortgage campus. And again, probably tough to help, get on this roster, but for the practice squad, and I left one other one. Kaderil Hodge.
Yeah.
Again, we have a problem. We have, for the first time that I can recall doing this program, we have way more than 53 guys who deserve to be on this 53.
Well, I think you could go all the way back to the late 80s to find a situation like this. I mean, that's how long it's been that you've had this type. I mean, this is a contender, and this is the problems you have when you're a contender.
Yeah.
First world problems, but they're your problems. And that's the spot that you're in when you start talking about cut-down stuff by the time we get into next week. Still so much more to come. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. You live and breathe football, you know sometimes keeping your priorities straight will be a challenge. Unfortunately, the same can be true when you gamble. If you find your gambling is affecting other parts of your life, get some help, get some tips on responsible gambling at keepitfunohio.com. I'll be interested to see how the Saints are tonight. I'm interested to see how Jameis plays, and I'll have that one on in the first half at least. Check out and see how that goes.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he's like our adopted son, Jameis.
He is.
We are more invested in him than any other quarterback
are.
competition outside of the Cleveland Browns. There isn't a competition here, but any other quarterbacks in the league, frankly. Yeah, I just feel I want to see him play and hopefully play well. I think it'll be fun.
It's a big year for my nephews, Jameis and Matt Stafford. Like both those guys,
Yeah, they're.
And I know you and I together share Jameis, but Stafford's been kind of my guy.
I think he's going to.
I'm a little
ball.
nervous. I think he will too. That's kind of my sense that he will too. But I'm worried a little bit about the expectations. The next level is coming up next.